puzzle boss is an enemy who can't be beaten through conventional attacks, but instead requires you to use your cunning and guile in order to find a more left-field way of making their health bar evaporate. Fair enough, you might be saying, but let's just imagine that the boss in question wasn't born with a glowing region that indicates their vulnerable point, or hasn't chosen to live between two high-voltage electrical pylons. What then? Then, my friend, you're in the realm of these Machiavellian foes. Ready your second monitor and open a browser window for these 7 stupidly complicated puzzle bosses who you definitely required a cheeky walkthrough to defeat.
Animal Well is as mysterious and inscrutable as the continued success of James Corden. It doesn't directly give away much about its world or what you're supposed to do in that world, so for anyone who hasn't played it yet, here's a quick primer on the backstory. You find yourself in an underground labyrinth. That's it. So it makes perfect sense that a mysterious boss from Animal Well found its way onto this list, and that the boss in question, Ghost Dog, can't be beaten by traditional means. Instead, it requires a sequence of events that even a 90s LucasArts point-and-click adventure would describe as a bit too much. If the solution isn't try combining all the items in your inventory and then spamming them on the puzzle, then I'm pretty much out of ideas. In actual fact, to win this boss encounter, you need to take the mock disc from the dog room to the mock disc shrine, without this happening. To prevent that from happening, you must collect sufficient eggs to unlock a flute in the egg room, don't even worry about it, then learn warp songs on that flute that let you teleport around the map. This allows you to walk far enough from the ghost dog to give you enough time to get to the mock disc shrine before he eats you. Place the mock disc and the dog evaporates. And all it took was a teleporting flute, several eggs, and my sanity. Worth it.
Gamers who were gaming in 1996 have one thing in common: back problems. Oh wait, 2 things. The other thing is the shared trauma of squaring up to a boss in Tomb Raider who resembled nothing so much as a leggy ET covered in raw meat. Ugh. This skinless doppelganger of Lara Croft, or Bacon Lara as she's affectionately known by fans, appears in the 14th level of the original Tomb Raider. And once you come to terms with the fact that the wall textures in said level look like this, your next task is to tackle one of the most head-scratching puzzle boss setups of the PS1 era. The doppelganger is apparently a big fan of the stop hitting yourself school of playground bullying because it never attacks you directly. Instead, it copies your every move around a central axis of rotational symmetry and inflicts damage on you whenever you shoot at it. Until this point in the game, everything from dogs to dinosaurs has been killable using good old gunfire. So, having to think outside these confines this late in the game comes as a bit of a shock. Are you sure you're definitely supposed to be in this game, Bacon Lara? That Resident Evil's just over there in the 1996 PS1 releases pile? You'd like it there. You'd fit right in. Beating the doppelganger is a matter of, and you'll kick yourself when I tell you, jumping and climbing around the level until you find this lever, which opens up a convenient trapdoor into a lava pit. Then you navigate and carefully orientate yourself so that when your skinless counterpart copies your moves around that central point, they walk themselves right into said pit. That does smell like bacon.
You can leave it to the Final Fantasy series to take something perfectly simple, like beating up a massive whale octopus superweapon that lives at the bottom of the sea, and make it all numbersy. The underwater boss in question is Emerald Weapon, a mega hard and totally optional encounter that falls under the super boss category, along with its counterpart Ruby Weapon. Basically the Final Fantasy version of the extra credit assignment for people who didn't think their homework was hard enough. Other than its massive size, its enormous HP and devastating attacks, there are two main problems to contend with when you fight Emerald Weapon. First is that a 20-minute timer begins as soon as you start fighting, presumably because it's underwater and you need to hold your breath the whole time. My record in the bathtub is 60 seconds. 70 if I'm not fighting an Emerald Weapon. Unless you're massively high level, 20 minutes just isn't enough time to reduce this boss's massive HP pool to 0. However, you can disable the timer and set yourself up for victory with some cunning and complicated prep work. The trick to this boss fight is finding the underwater reactor beneath Junon, waiting in the undersea corridor until a ghost ship appears, then killing said ghost ship with the morph command so it turns into a guidebook. Unless that guidebook is the Prima official strategy guide, I don't understand how this is going to help. How it helps, against all odds, is that you then trade that guidebook to the Traveller in Calm and then exchange for an underwater materia. Equip that materia when you fight Emerald Weapon and the 20-minute countdown is disabled. Now all that remains to do is actually beat one of the two hardest bosses in the game. But that part will be easy, I assume.
Impressive, Batman. I doubted you would actually return.
I'm a man of my word, Victor. You should know that by now.
Batman is known for being a pretty stealthy guy, despite being a 6'2" billionaire in rubber fetish wear. So squeaky. But even the stealthiest of Batmans will find themselves challenged by the new Game Plus version of the Mr. Freeze boss fight in 2011's Batman Arkham City. The fight begins with Mr. Freeze announcing that you're in his world now, before slowly plodding around a cold room full of environmental cues that let you trigger stealthy takedowns. Way to play that home advantage, Freeze!
Just like the first time you fought this boss fight though, Mr. Freeze becomes immune to each type of takedown after you've used it on him once, showing the kind of learning and growth that he should really apply to his frozen wife.
I learn from my mistakes, Batman.
The difference is, the first time you face Mr. Freeze, if playing on normal mode, you eventually learn that you have to use 5 different takedowns, exactly 2 more than your 3 favourites you just use over and over.
That will not happen again.
In New Game Plus, the literal only way to defeat Mr. Freeze is deploying at least 9 unique variations of takedown.
Get off me.
So, after finally remembering that you can only use each attack 1 time, cue you desperately trying to remember all your unused bat skills, coaxing Mr. Freeze around the room into position and then unleashing glide kicks, disruptor attacks, explosive gel blasts, and everything else on Batman's utility belt. But once you've remembered or googled enough of them, you can hit Freeze with a series of unique takedowns until his visor finally shatters.
Should have gone with the rubber suit, Freeze. Never shatters. Does chafe though.
A brawl is surely brewing. Now go!
Cuphead is a side-scrolling shooter which explores an alt-history timeline in which the rubber hose animators of the early 20th century were also really into bullet hell shoot-'em-ups. Ordinarily, there are more projectiles on screen here than you'd see in an Undertale genocide run, so when you first witness the restrained attack patterns of Mr. Chimes, a cymbal-banging monkey toy suspended in mid-air by an arcade claw machine, you might think the game's giving you a break. I mean, that claw's probably going to drop him any minute now, right? But Mr. Chimes can't be beaten by bullets alone, what with being a puzzle boss. You're also going to need to deploy your quick-fire memory skills, and do that under the intense pressure of simultaneously not getting destroyed by a Cuphead boss. Peppering Mr. Chimes with gunfire only somewhat bothers your monkey foe. What it does do eventually is make an array of playing cards appear behind him. What am I supposed to do with playing cards in a bullet hell shooter, you'll be thinking, while trying not to die? Improbably, what you need to do is find all the matching pairs of picture cards on this grid, all while flying around trying to avoid your simian foe and his attacks. Only in this way will you deal Mr. Chimes the proper damage required to finally defeat this cymbal-banging menace. Still easier than getting a prize out of an arcade claw machine though.
A rare beat-em-up example of the puzzle boss fight can be found when you encounter Shredder in the SNES version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time. Shredder takes his name from the razor-sharp spikes he wears on his armor plates, which makes him a particularly deadly foe in, write this down Shredder, hand-to-hand close quarters combat. But setting aside his natural advantage, Shredder decides to turn up in a big Dimension X War Machine type thing and turn your encounter into a ranged fight, with Shredder appearing in the foreground of the screen where he's safely guarded from conventional attacks. Just in case peppering you with fire from his mech doesn't work, Shredder decides to invite an endless army of foot soldiers to the boss fight as well, which would make more sense if he wasn't also firing indiscriminately in their direction. Sucks to work for that guy. Shredder's excessive use of force and reckless approach to workplace safety proves to be his downfall when you discover, through perseverance, experimentation, or playground rumors, that you can throw his foot soldiers at the camera to damage him. This means if Shredder had just stuck to shooting you, he'd have remained invulnerable inside his mech, and Turtles in Time would have had quite the anticlimactic ending, where party dude Michelangelo fights nearly infinite foot soldiers before succumbing to gunshot wounds. Bummer, dude.
Take a stroll up to Senpo Temple in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and you'll find two things: lovely views and a warrior who is immune to your attacks, deals massive damage and has armour that can't be removed. Still, really lovely views. Given that here in Sekiro you're deep in Souls-like territory, you might be forgiven for thinking that you just need to use the right weapon type, level yourself up enough, or wait for a conspicuous animation that screams "do all your attacks now while I'm sleepy." However, you'd be wrong on all three counts, because the Armoured Warrior has obviously watched a bunch of Dark Souls runs and decided that the best way to avoid ending up like Ornstein and Smaug is to make himself completely invulnerable. A pretty airtight strategy that I, for one, am glad didn't catch on among more of Sekiro's bosses. The actual solution to beating the Armoured Warrior is to firstly manipulate him into smashing the walls off this enclosed bridge structure. Then you must land enough attacks to break his posture while he's right at the edge of the now exposed bridge. Then you use your death blow to knock him over the edge, where he'll fall to his Disney villain death. Why he cries out "Robert" while he falls is anyone's guess. But then so was the solution to beating him, so at least he's consistent.
So those are some of the boss fights that, you know, you would have had to eventually look up, or like, you know, they were just really difficult puzzles that you were just not expecting. Come on, this is the boss fight where you just go bang, 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 whatever, you know? Whatever. But if you would like another helpful walkthrough here, actually, I'm just going to provide you with that, is if you move your mouse or your finger, depending on what you're watching this on, over to here, you can watch another video from us or Outside Xbox, and they're really, really good. And also there's a helpful link on screen to our Patreon, and you can click there, and if you go through there, you can support us. And then also, so you know, you never miss a video of ours in future, there's a subscribe button on screen as well, and you can just click on that, and it's all sorted for you. See? Easy.